As the world descended into chaos during World War II, a second war unfolded behind the front lines. A silent war, fought not with bullets and bombs, but with vaults, currencies, and gold. And at the center of this hidden operation stood Nazi Germany, under the control of Adolf Hitler, a regime that understood one crucial truth: war requires resources, and resources require wealth. And so, as German forces advanced across Europe, they did not simply conquer territories. They systematically stripped them of their financial lifelines, targeting central banks, national reserves, and private wealth with precision. And one of the earliest and most significant examples came in 1938, with the annexation of Austria, where gold reserves were seized almost immediately, transferred into German control as if they had always belonged there. And this became the blueprint for what would follow, because as country after country fell under Nazi occupation, the same pattern repeated itself. Vaults were opened, reserves were catalogued, and gold was transported back into the Reich's growing stockpile. And at the heart of this operation was the Reichsbank, an institution that transformed into the central hub of this vast network of stolen wealth, where gold was not just stored, but processed, melted down, and recast into standardized bars, effectively erasing its origins, making it nearly impossible to trace. And this act of transformation was critical because it allowed stolen gold from multiple countries to be combined into a single, indistinguishable reserve, a financial foundation that would support Germany's war efforts. And yet, beyond the seizure of national reserves, the operation extended further, reaching into the lives of individuals, as valuables were confiscated, collected, and integrated into the same system, creating a flow of wealth that was both constant and immense. And as the war progressed, this system grew more efficient, more organized, and more deeply embedded into the structure of the Nazi state, becoming not just a byproduct of war, but a core component of its strategy, a financial engine that powered expansion, sustained operations, and reinforced control. And by the time the war reached its peak, the scale of this operation had become staggering, representing one of the largest coordinated thefts in history. A hidden heist operating under the cover of global conflict. As the tides of war began to turn and defeat loomed on the horizon, a new phase of the operation began, one defined not by acquisition, but by concealment, because the same system that had been used to gather wealth now shifted its focus toward hiding it. And across Europe, movements of gold intensified. Trains transported crates under secrecy, convoys moved through the night, and locations were chosen not for visibility, but for obscurity. Mines, tunnels, and remote facilities became the final destinations for what remained of the Reich's treasure. And among the many stories that emerged from this period, one of the most persistent is the legend of the Nazi gold train, believed by some to have been loaded with vast amounts of gold and valuables and hidden somewhere in Poland. A story that continues to capture imagination, and while the existence of such a train remains debated, it reflects a broader reality. Significant portions of Nazi wealth were deliberately concealed, their locations known only to a select few, many of whom did not survive the war. And as Allied forces advanced, they uncovered some of these hidden caches, recovering gold, art, and valuables that had been taken during the conflict. But even as these discoveries were made, it became clear that not everything had been found, that some of the treasure had simply vanished, leaving behind a trail of questions that would persist for decades. And this disappearance added a new dimension to the story, transforming it from a historical account into an ongoing mystery, one that blurred fact and legend. And as investigations continued in the years following the war, efforts were made to trace the missing assets, to identify their origins, and to return them to their rightful owners. Yet despite these efforts, gaps remained. Records were incomplete, and the passage of time made it difficult. And so, the story of Nazi gold became not just a story of theft, but of loss, of unanswered questions, and of a treasure hidden. Subscribe Criminal Verse, where every crime hides a story. As the guns of World War II finally fell silent, and the dust of conflict began to settle across a devastated Europe, a different kind of operation quietly began to unfold. One that would span decades and cross international borders. An operation not of war, but of recovery. as Allied forces and financial authorities turned their attention to the immense wealth stolen during the conflict. Wealth that was now scattered, hidden, or completely unaccounted for. Among the central figures were teams tasked with tracing gold that had passed through the Reichsbank, analyzing records, and interrogating officials, attempting to reconstruct the complex web of transactions that had transformed stolen assets into untraceable reserves. And yet, the task proved far more difficult than anticipated, because the system was designed to conceal the origins of the gold. Bars had been melted, markings erased, and documentation either destroyed or deliberately falsified, creating a financial labyrinth. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered fragments hidden in vaults, discovered in abandoned mines and shipments, intercepted before they could disappear. But each discovery raised as many questions as it answered, because for every cache recovered, there were indications of others never found. This gave rise to a wave of searches as governments, historians, and private treasure hunters pursued leads ranging from credible to highly questionable. Reports of hidden trains and secret tunnels captured public imagination, particularly in Poland, where the legend of a gold train became an enduring mystery. While many searches yielded little, they reflected a deeper truth that the story of Nazi gold was far from complete. The hunt evolved into a symbol of the broader effort to address the consequences of wartime theft, and to acknowledge what could never be recovered. As investigators continued their search, another dimension emerged, a shadow economy that had quietly absorbed portions of the stolen wealth. Not all the gold was hidden in physical locations. Some was integrated into global financial systems and laundered through transactions. At the center were institutions that operated during and after the war, facilitating the movement of assets in ways that were difficult to trace. This possibility sparked debates about the responsibility of institutions and the ethical implications of wealth originating from systematic theft. Today, the story of Nazi gold exists at the intersection of history and mystery, a narrative that captures attention due to the scale of the theft. The plunder of gold was a central component of a system that combined military, power, and economic strategy into a coordinated effort. The legacy is defined by broader implications for how we understand justice and the consequences of large-scale theft. As the mystery lingers, it serves as a historical puzzle and a moral reflection, a reminder that some chapters remain unfinished. Subscribe Criminal Verse, where every crime hides a story.